I really don't know what to make of this video just because I feel like if I force it, then it's gonna... I don't know. I think one of the main things I've been thinking about as of lately is almost like the art of existing, not just as a human, but as like a soul here. I think it's just... I've been sort of aimlessly walking, meditating throughout the city. I live in New York, so a lot of times I just like to walk around and by myself, almost like treating my surroundings as a museum, and it's quite meditative. And a lot of thoughts spring up as I'm just walking around and doing what I do, which is people watching. I get into this very philosophical mindset where I ask these questions like, who are we without our memories? Who are we without our past? Who are we without the years we've lived? That's a notification right there. And it kind of just stems back to this fear that I sometimes get, and I think it's a very mortal fear. It is like the fear of forgetting everything, everything that you've lived through, even the good and bad. My grandmother had dementia, so I saw the effects of that happening, and it was frightening to be able to wake up and not know who you are without what you've been through, you know? And that's why I like to say I like to document things, because I like to look back on it. Like, I like to think in my head, if there was a chance that I were to like lose parts of myself and I can't retain it at a free will, I can always have something physical, something I could like look at and be like, oh, but isn't that so sad to rely on such things? But it kind of goes back to this question, who are we without the life we've lived? You know? It's quite philosophical, and that's the thing. It's I like asking these unanswered questions. It brings me a better perspective on how one could live their life from here on out. And yeah, it's very reflective, because gosh, I don't even know any words I could say. It's just a huge idea that if I just keep speaking, that it loses its meaning. But isn't that like a lot of things? You just, if you over-explain, you kind of defeat the purpose of it. Anyways, I have a notebook where I write all my creative writing and stuff. Like if I had a story to tell or poetry, and sometimes I have notes when I go to workshops and stuff, and I'm like, oh, there's some things that are really interesting. I did write at some point, because this just came upon me as I was, a few months ago when I was just doing my thing. I was kind of going through an emotional period of my life, and I just looked at myself in the mirror and I felt like I looked very clear in the mirror. And have you ever had that moment where you just looked at yourself in the mirror, you stopped, and you kind of just look, like you just see yourself and you take it all in, and it feels as if this mirror is like not just a mirror, but like sort of a portal of some sort, and it's like a different version of you. And I realized at that moment that I was living a life. And I had this epiphany where I was like, oh goodness, I've come so far. And it was not just this thought, but I saw it in my eyes as well. Like, I looked into my eyes. Of course I'd be looking into my eyes in the mirror, but I just saw through my eyes, and I was like, wow, this person, this being I see in front of me has lived and is continuing living a life at the same time. So I kind of almost, I wrote about it kind of thinking about it because I compared my eyes to like, they're brown, so they were like ripened, the ripened brown eyes, and almost like, I thought, I don't know why it came up, but I thought of like an avocado pit. And I don't know why, but I thought my eyes was like avocado pits, like the centers of the avocados. And I did some research because I was like, I don't know, I can be, like, it's always good to do some research. And I realized that I didn't notice for a fact, but avocados only begin ripening after you pick it off. Pick it off of the tree. And so it, just let that sink in. You know, avocados only ripen when you pick it off the tree. Yeah. And so I thought it was very interesting that I naturally compared my eyes to the inside of avocado. Just like it's ripening it up. It's just... yeah, I thought that was sweet. Yeah. I've been doing a lot of things by myself. I've always been doing things by myself, but I never felt really comfortable to do things by myself. What I've been trying to do this year is go watch a movie by myself every week. It feels so nice to just go by yourself. You're not waiting on someone, and you get yourself your own little small popcorn and a little hot chocolate, and you just go to the corner of the theater, and you're all snuggled up, and the lights kind of go down, the screen you're staring at, and you're fully absorbed in it without fidgeting next to someone that you're with, or, you know, feeling distracted that there's someone next to you and you're supposed to constantly entertain, and like after the movie you're supposed to talk about the movie, and there's a sort of pleasure of doing it by yourself. So I mean, of course I love to do it with my friends and like everyone, and I mean, go to a fun movie, like it's great, but like go to like I don't have, a lot of my friends don't have the biggest attention spans, and so like it would be hard for me to invite them to like a 3-hour movie. It would be very hard. It would be very hard. And even I kind of doze off at some point during a 3-hour movie. I mean, it's natural to doze off, but you know, I tend to quietly appreciate things, and I don't like to talk much about it just because, like, do I have to explain my experience for it to mean something? I don't know. It's like the sudden, like, you rush out, you're like, what do you think? What do you think of the movie? What do you think? And, you know, or what do you think of the play? What do you think of the musical? And I'm like, I'm still absorbing everything that's just happened for the past 2 hours or 3 hours. And I'm just appreciating. So, no pressure. I could come back and talk about it like a few hours later. I'm currently reading The Nickel Boys right now. A film just came out for it, and I just want to read it before I watch it because I heard many good things about it. I mean, it's by Colson Whitehead, so I'm not surprised that it's great. Another book I recommend, Women Who Run with the Wolves. I read this around 2019 after, well, around 2019. This was a bit after my mom passed away, and I had to kind of go through a sort of awakening of my own and a realization about who I was as a person. And this book was kind of there with me. I'm rereading it again. Crazy thing is, like, I'm rereading it now versus who I was in 2019, and the way I'm receiving this book is completely different. And I think that's the beauty of this book, is that you can like read back on things, realizing that you're receiving some things differently from this, and maybe even more than you've received. And I'm gonna keep continuing it because there are specific chapters where I was reading in 2019 and I wasn't really into, and I was like, I haven't reached that part of my life yet, and now I've experienced things, I've grown up a bit more, and now I'm rereading it, I'm like, wow, these things I can resonate with now. I'm totally spacing out right now. It's okay to space out. You're just living.